So, how many people complained about the Madeleine McCann gag cracked by a TV satirist, John Fortune? It was 32.
That's right. To be absolutely precise, it was 32 people who complained to Ofcom in October after John Fortune, of Bremner Bird and Fortune fame, said Gordon Brown would fine Madeleine McCann if it meant he'd get re-elected. A lot of people complained and said, but the watchdog cleared the comic of causing offence. You're watching The Right Stuff, live on 5 with George Galloway MP, Janet Ellis and Scott Capurro, our resident San Franciscan comic. But first, are some jokes off limits, or can, indeed should, humour cross all boundaries unimpeded by such trifles as taste and decency? Are some subjects just not funny? The Holocaust, the death of Princess Diana, 9/11, Madeleine McCann, or is anything fair game for a gag? Maybe it's all about timing, not comic timing, or maybe it is comic timing. Crack a gag too soon after a high-profile disaster, and they'll lynch you for it. Wait a little while and you'll get away with it. Private Eye magazine, routinely lambasted for its bad taste gags, but it's famous for doing just that. The Diana issue there, I hope they don't put me on the cover just to sell more copies, is a case in point. People were outraged, but what did they expect from Private Eye? Maybe it wasn't the magazine that was at fault there, just that some of its readers lacked a decent sense of humour. Now, Scott, if I remember right, about 7 years ago, Edinburgh, you made a reference about Jewish people should stop whinging about the Holocaust, is that right?
Yeah, Holocaust, can't they whine about something else?
Right, and lots of people walked out in offence.
They did. 7 girls from Cambridge. I lost them right away. They started crying, but girls cry a lot.
So you're utterly unrepentant?
No, I mean, I think funny is funny, and the more people resist for some comics like me, the more I see that material as gold dust.
Is anything off limits? What about that timing issue that you can make, that if you make a gag, something like, if you made a gag about the tsunami the day after,
right,
tens of thousands of people lost their lives, you would deserve a lynching, whereas if you wait 6 months or 3 months, maybe 3 weeks...
60 seconds? I think the minute Diana ate cement, goes? The minute Diana got in that Mercedes, all I thought was, God, that was the best career move she has ever made. Dead now, but she'll be famous forever.
They're gonna hate you. They're gonna hate you.
We're not friends, there's a buffer. I think, I just think a comic's job is to push the envelope a little bit, see what they can get away with. And I make stuff up on stage all the time just to see how people will react. And I'll warn an audience, the more you resist, the more a comic's likely to write jokes about that. So if you want us to not discuss it, then be laid back about it and we'll think, oh, there's no material there.
So you're challenging people's degree of offence?
Yeah. Obviously. I mean, I think that people get worked up about things they know nothing about and they feel they must react or they hear one word because they're not really listening. I think a comic is good when they can make an audience listen to what they're saying, and the way to do that is to find something that audiences feel sensitive about. I mean, again, we're clowns, we're annoying. That's our job description. We're supposed to piss you off a little bit.
That was the classic clown in sort of medieval England, was to say things that no one else could say to the king in case they lost their heads.
Right, exactly. And I think now, you know, people are so cautious and careful since that Jade debacle, where she exposed Big Brother for what it is, which is a microcosm of social unrest. I think now people are so nervous about being labeled racist, you know, and I think that if you're on stage, the audience takes it for granted that they might be... You're in a comedy club, and if someone is offended, then it's so weird to me.
Well, that's kind of what I felt about the Private Eye covers. Why would people complain about a magazine that's what it does? I mean, if you don't like it, don't buy it, look away. Janet, do you think some humour is off limits?
I would defend everybody's right to say whatever they feel. I also defend my right to be upset by it. And I think that the timing thing is actually crucial, because I think there's a way that the gap gives us a chance to deal with it. Now, whether it's dealing with it in my way, which is different from yours, whether it's the 60-second or the 60-week delay, I don't think makes any difference. And I think with a subject like the Holocaust, we haven't learned how to deal with it. We haven't actually dealt with it as a major episode in history yet, apart from anything else, because we're still so shocked by the amount of cruelty and turning a blind eye that was involved. So we're not ready to laugh because we haven't found what the truth of it is, I don't think. So it's like opening a book and ripping a page out. And I think that the 99% of you that goes cold, the 1% that laughs, isn't teaching the 99% much at all, because the 99% is still getting in the way.
But it's my way of relieving stress.
It is, but I don't know whether you wouldn't lose me for the next 3 points you make, because it's a bit like stage nudity. You know, I know that old saw about it has to be fundamentally part of the plot. That's absolutely true, because the minute an actor is nude, you are in a different place with the storyline, with the actor, with the process, with the film, with the star, with what happens afterwards. So it has to be relevant, and it has to be something that makes you think about the whole thing in context, which is why I think you might lose me. You know, I would think, that is funny, why am I laughing? And then the next 3 points would go.
OK, I'm just thinking, George, about freedom of speech. I'm mindful of those cartoons, the Danish cartoons that were deemed offensive to Muslims. There was a part of me which felt, well, they should have the right to express this sense of humour if they want. But then someone said, but actually, well, lots of people said that freedom of speech requires respect for boundaries. So would you say that some gags are off limits?
Yeah, and I think that the elephant, while difficult to define, is easy to recognise, is the same here. I mean, I don't know what kind of monster could crack a joke about a small child that's been kidnapped and maybe being, as we speak, subject to unspeakable horrors, and I don't know what kind of monster could laugh at it.
But isn't it needed as an antidote for obsessive media coverage? For people, as Scott said, becoming emotionally hung up about someone they don't know, have never met, probably never will meet, or never know.
The joke's not about Madeleine McCann, for instance, in my act. It's about the hype surrounding the case. It's about the ridiculousness of putting this child who may or may not be alive on the front page of the paper every day for a year.
That naming her skews everybody.
Yes.
You hit the buffers with that, whereas the Brass Eye special on paedophilia was brilliantly done. You know, about the fear of it, the way people are exploited, the way everybody's dragged into saying something they haven't thought about.
You and say that they were horribly offended.
A lot of people were.
They were, but it's the generalisation which I would substantiate.
It's a short part, so I have to jump in there and take some calls. And I want to know what you think. Does humour have limits, or can it cross all boundaries?
Well, let's hear what Monica thinks. She's from Barnet on line 1.
Monica, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. What do you think, Monica?
But I think suicide should be off limits. Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Suicide should be off limits because it would offend you, or suicide should be off limits to all of us?
I think to all of us. I think I saw what was supposed to be a comedy programme, and it was all jokes about that area. I think that suicide has affected quite a lot of people.
What about cancer? Can we make jokes about cancer, Monica?
I think, yeah, there can be. I mean, it's like you can see, you know, I can see the point about Princess Diana. I have got...
OK, so someone who willfully kills themselves, right, causing untold pain and unhappiness to their family, we can't crack a gag about, but we can have a laugh at someone who's the life and soul of the party, a great family person who's dying in front of us. Monica, I think your views are really skewed. I'm sorry. Thank you for the call. Let's have another.
OK, let's hear from Richard now in London on line 2.
Richard, good morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
Does humour have limits, sir?
I don't believe it should. I think anything should go, personally.
Well, what if you make a gag about suicide and Monica, our previous caller, takes offence?
I think her views were definitely mixed up. I don't think any of the really horrific jokes they're not really a true reflection of people's feelings on the actual subject matter. It's more kind of laughing at the joke itself and the shock value of it. I mean, if somebody actually thinks, you know, the reality of a child going missing or, you know, something horrific, most normal people would...
Yeah, but let's remember Scott's point, that it wasn't a joke about Madeleine McCann. It's a joke about... It was a joke about the hype surrounding Madeleine
Exactly.
McCann.
I mean, it can be that, but I mean, it's just... If you actually think of what the joke entails, most normal people will find it, you know, if you actually think of the reality, really horrific and disgusting. But I think it's society's way, or some people's way of kind of making light of a situation. Okay. You know, it's a coping mechanism rather than thinking too deep about all the horrible stuff that's going on.
Well said for bringing up the coping mechanism. I totally agree with you there, Rich. I'm sorry to gallop through that one. It's a great talking point, but we've got to move on. We have to hit this ad break on time. Not that you care. Actually, I don't care, except they don't pay me if I don't. So let's move on.